Hey guys, I'm Al Washington and welcome to my Mystical Laws podcast. I am here with showrunner Brad Williams, and we're going to be talking about the latest voiceover project, the Road Diaries. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Brad. Brad, if you'd like to say hey to everybody.
Hey, everybody. And hey, Al, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So, Brad, what inspired you and your team to create the Road Diaries? And again, congratulations for your first one. I know you won an award for that. What inspired you though for this one?
So, a few years ago, there was a 48-hour audio drama competition called Phonic Fiction Fest. The overall theme was horror, and you were given a subgenre of horror within right before the 48-hour clock started. So, I was
Okay.
hoping I had my fingers crossed for horror comedy because I'm a comedy writer at heart, and we
Right.
did get horror comedy. And as I was going through writing the script, which I wrote the script in about 3 hours,
Uh-huh.
I figured that uh, the more I thought about it, the more I was writing it like a pilot. And I thought to
Mhm.
myself, well, why not lean into that and really write it like a pilot? One of the people on the team came up with a really solid ending that served that. And, it was a lot of fun. And I thought that the first episode really did serve well as a pilot, but also the concept really felt like it had legs. That
Okay.
it's a not really an anthology, but kind of a X-Files style monster of the week thing, but with a really strong comedy through line. And
Okay.
so, in terms of inspiration for the story, the main source of inspiration for the story itself in that pilot was John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, which is one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. So I
Uh,
kind of cribbed a few notes from John Carpenter in terms of the overall plot of that first episode, and worked that into something else and made it a little bit a little bit wacky.
Interesting. Okay, right. So I have not seen that one with John Carpenter. Only one, a famous one I know is the Halloween. And
Mhm.
also he did you see Body Bags? That came out like in the early 90s, like
No, I don't think I
1993.
saw that one. He's the my favorite ones of his are Prince of Darkness, obviously, but
Okay.
also uh, Big Trouble in Little China is definitely one of my favorites, and that has a pretty strong humor through line too. So John Carpenter can definitely make you laugh when he wants to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely hear that. Yeah, the first Halloween was very good. The other ones I'm
Mhm.
not. Anyway, two Kingdom Hearts. I definitely like the Halloween. But if you have a minute, if you love John Carpenter, I definitely need to check out the Prince of Darkness. Body Bags is good. He does like the narrator. It's like a 90-minute movie with it's kind of like Tales from the Crypts. I mean, he's like the narrator. So he has like three or four different stories, like short stories in the movie. In movies called short, excuse me, anthology movie, obviously horror. It's called Body Bags. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite. So regarding with the project, how are the casting calls going? Not giving too much away. How do you feel about James and Daria? Any challenges? I don't know if you guys cast them yet, or how's that going?
Oh, well, it's Jack and Daria. Just one
Jack,
minor correction.
I'm sorry about that. Jack and
No,
Daria. I'm
that's okay.
sorry.
Jack and James are pretty similar names.
Oh,
Yeah, the reaction, we have about a week and a half left in the casting call. It's closing in 2 Fridays from when we're recording, and we have right now 290 total auditions, which is a
nice,
lot.
nice.
It's a good problem to have, but it's definitely going to be daunting. What I usually try to do when I cast is I usually try to listen to all the auditions and
Uh-huh.
cast over the weekend after the casting call closes, but I know that's not realistic. I want to make sure that I honor the hard work of the people who submitted. So I'm actually extending it out to a full week of
Nice.
evaluating all the auditions that go in to make sure that I really listen to them and really evaluate them. And like I said, I want to make sure that, people have gone out of their way to audition for this project, and I want to make sure that I treat that with the appropriate level of respect, which is a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I know you got over, like you said, over 200 auditions. I know it's going to be a process trying to narrow it down. Um, definitely good luck with that. I know how it is with the casting call process. It's like you have this one person and another person comes, oh my God, and blows your mind away. So,
Mhm.
and that's good. I'm glad to hear you extended it and you said it's going good so far. So, can
Yeah, we'll definitely. There's usually a rush at the beginning and at the end, although that hasn't necessarily been the case this
right.
time. It's been pretty steady coming in, but I do expect to have quite a few auditions that come in within the last few days of the casting call. Like maybe that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before it closes, I expect a kind of an inrush. So we should be well over 300 auditions for 5 roles.
Oh wow, God bless you. Okay, definitely, yeah, definitely. I can't wait to.
It's a good problem to have.
It's good. Yeah, that's good. You guys got a lot of good talent. Okay, definitely good luck with that. You said it was a
Yeah, and
challenge.
it's funny because when I started Once Upon a Wasteland, the first
Uh-huh.
casting call that I did, I think we got 10 auditions maybe.
Oh,
And
really?
and I ended up going with outside of the casting process for my two leads because I just there just weren't auditions that I would have felt comfortable with moving forward with. And
Right.
now, we're going to surpass 300 auditions for another project. So I'm hoping that some of that is establishing a good reputation as a creator.
I know that's right. No, right. And at least you're honest. Like I said, I appreciate you saying at least you're honest because I know you want to get the vision out there and you're not the type, at least like I said, for now, this project that you're just casting anybody. Oh, I just want to get some experience. I just want to get it out there. So I'm just gonna get anybody that can train them. Yeah. But it's still good that you're just not doing that. So if whoever was not fit for the part, that's good that you didn't just quickly cast and say, you know what? No, this isn't working, or I'm gonna
Mhm.
extend it, or I'm just gonna kind of I want to say postpone, but maybe delay it or like you said, extend it for, a couple of weeks or months until you get
Mhm.
that person that you can mold into when they have that
Yeah.
voice. When you hear their voice and you're like, okay, yay, nay, but yes, but I can mold them in that person. They really can, like I said, play the character, excuse me, voice the character. So yeah,
Yeah, and,
that's
and
great.
and part of it too is when I write before I cast, I have a voice in my head
Hmm.
of what the character sounds like. So I really have to be careful to open up my mind and make sure that I'm listening to each one and thinking about how they fit and not necessarily how they fit in with the voice that plays in my head as I'm writing. So, I for both of the leads in Once Upon a Wasteland, I ended up neither character sounded quite like what I had in my head, and it worked out great. I mean, the show has been fabulously successful, and a huge part of that is the cast. People. I'm just the guy that writes the scripts. The performers are really. I always say the performers are the people that keep people coming back. The writing is an
Yeah.
important part, yeah, but if you don't have the right people voicing those lines, it's just not going to work, and people aren't going to stick around.
That is true. Yeah, because like I said, even with the casting process, like I said, film, whether it's film, definitely voiceover. Anybody can read off a script. Anybody. Obviously, that's the first thing, the direction. Anybody can read off the script, but you need to have, you said, depending on the character, which is can't be any more true, um, to really be that voice, that uniqueness that you guys are looking for. Yeah. I mean, anybody can, like I said, I'm looking to cast mine hopefully late, and I do mean late this year after hopefully I get finished my novella. So I know exactly what that means going through the casting call process. And if that voice isn't there, like no, either I'm gonna have to recast or just delay it or just keep the ad open until I can find who I can mold and yeah. It
Mhm.
really has to be the voices. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to have gone through this process already. So it's not as daunting as it would be if this was my first time
Yeah.
and I had 300 plus auditions. I would feel completely overwhelmed. So now I only feel slightly overwhelmed. Uh,
Interesting. Okay. So, Rand, with that being said, my other question, the talk of the AI, because we were talking about like the voices, and it seems like AI is getting used for every damn thing in this country, especially with voiceover work. What do you think about that? Like, do you think that the AI is going to take over voiceover careers? And because now I'm seeing all these programs that now you can, you know, take somebody's voice, make it, duplicate it, and make it your own style, or just like, like little templates you can use. So, what are your thoughts on the AI thinking that may take over voiceover careers?
I don't think that it will. There, unless and until, and I don't know that we're ever going to get to this point unless and until it can really genuinely duplicate a performance. Like you can duplicate a voice, but you
Right.
can't duplicate a performance. You can't duplicate a human being looking at those lines and looking at the context of those lines and giving it the right inflection and the right emphasis and really performing the lines and not just blurting them out based on an algorithm. And the other thing too is
Hmm.
I think, and this may be a controversial take, and I may offend some people when I say this,
Oh,
but
God.
I think that if a project is willing to use an AI voice performance, and I use the term performance loosely there, if
Right.
they're willing to use an AI voice performance, then that doesn't speak well for the person who is running that project and their creativity. So it's not the kind of project that a voice actor should want to be involved with anyway. So nothing of value is lost.
That is true. Well said. And yeah, I just pray it doesn't. I just maybe when I see the commercials, especially like on YouTube or anything, and I'm seeing like, oh, now you can do voiceover, now you can do AI, you can use, yeah, I mean, I know we have to embrace it, like I said, accept it. It's just, I truly hope I would like to, I would love to continue using real people with human emotions, especially for my projects. And that's what I have been doing. This is gonna be my fourth project, and I'm glad, like I said, at least somebody else feels that way, that it's not gonna, take over and sound superficial. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that you can really easily pick out an AI voice on YouTube now.
Oh yeah,
And there's a lot of different tells, and it just shows, I mean, frankly, it's just laziness
I
to
agree.
to use that.
Yeah.
You can see I Dark Road Diaries is an unpaid project,
Hmm.
and I have as many auditions as we have for it. It's not hard to find extremely talented, dedicated people to help out on your project, even if it's something that's being done on a volunteer basis. So if somebody doesn't want to even go through that level of effort, it doesn't speak well for their uh, dedication to doing something good and doing something well. So, like I said, nothing, very little of value is lost when in terms of that kind of thing, because I question the quality of an overall project if they're willing to use an AI voice.
Yeah. Like I said, well said for that. But even though, like I said, it is volunteer and it's also another way to make someone, like I said, not boost their creativity, but also with their resume and also getting more experience, especially if you definitely want to work in the voiceover world. So, like I said, you may not get the multi-million deal, but like I said, this is a stepping stone if you definitely want to have a career and definitely doing
Mhm.
voiceover work. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Do you happen to have a favorite podcast that you're listening to right now that's inspiring you to write Dark Road Diaries or just in
Well,
general?
it's not so much an inspiration for Dark Road Diaries, but my
Mhm.
favorite podcast of all time is How Did This Get Made, which
Oh,
is it's it's Paul Scheer and June Diane Raphael and Jason Mantzoukas who get together and talk about bad movies, and
okay.
it's a great podcast. It's hilarious. The Paul and June are married, and Jason is a very good friend of theirs, so there's always really good chemistry, and they talk about some of the wildest movies you'll ever run into. I saw him live in Durham a
Oh,
couple of
nice.
years ago, and it was great. It just a lot of fun. It's a fun podcast to listen to, and to hear, all three of them are professional actors in professional Hollywood actors. Very all three of them are very accomplished. So hearing their perspective is also a lot of fun. It hits a little bit different when it's people that have kind of been there and and done that. And I'm sure they've all been involved in their own projects that maybe didn't turn out as well as they expected them to. But
Right.
it's a huge amount of fun, and I anxiously anticipate every new episode that comes out.
Nice. Okay. Very nice. Okay. What inspired you to become like a showrunner or creator? Like what lit a fire under your ass to really go ahead and do with a passion? Like what?
Well, so I always wanted to be a screenwriter, and I did some
Uh-huh.
of that when I was in college. Did some sitcom writing and that kind of thing.
Right.
And by the time I turned about 26 or 27, it hit me that was not going to be a career for me. It just what I had a pitch that I had sent in that I believed in, that I thought was great, and it just got absolutely no traction. I thought, okay, it's time to pivot and get a real job. So I did that, and I did that for about 25 years. And then I ended up auditioning as a voice actor for a audio drama podcast called The Modus Files.
Okay.
And the showrunner for that show encouraged me to, he knew my background. He encouraged me to look into, writing my own show, doing my own stuff. We went back and forth. I gave him some script snippets that I wrote, and he was just very encouraging to me to pursue that. And I didn't know that audio dramas were a thing
Hmm.
before that. So I thought, well, okay, this is something that I can do. I know I can write. I
Yeah.
don't know how to do anything else, but I do know how to write. I had to figure
Okay.
out, editing, sound design, music, all that kind of thing as I went along. But that really did, kind of reignite things and reminded me of why I enjoyed doing it. And that was how Once Upon a Wasteland started. So I
Nice.
did that for 3 seasons,
Okay.
and we have done, like I said, it's been very successful. We have north of 600,000 downloads now, I think. I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but
Okay.
we passed half a million several months ago. So I'm sure we're well over 600,000. We were after the first of the year. It's the strangest thing. We haven't had a new episode of Once Upon a Wasteland since May of 2024. So it's been almost 2 years. But for some reason, we ended up back in the top 100 of the Apple Podcast science fiction charts. So I don't know why that happened. The Fallout TV show probably had something to do with it,
Right.
but the other Fallout podcasts haven't seen quite as much of a bump as we did. So people are listening, people are sticking around. So that's good, which has led us to consider getting the band back together and coming out with a fourth season maybe in the fall. But the process of doing that and going through it and getting into the groove and getting into a rhythm of writing, producing, putting out an episode, and which we did every 3 weeks, reminded me again of how much I enjoyed the process, not just the writing part of it, but the whole process. And then I it's not that I wanted to get away from that, but it's that I wanted to sort of prove to myself and to other people that I wasn't a one trick pony. I always joked I'm a one trick pony, but it's a pretty good trick.
Right.
Uh, but I do think that I have more to offer than just that one show. I don't want to be a one hit wonder.
Yeah.
So when Dark Road Diaries, when we did the Phonic Fiction Fest, that was when I thought to myself, okay, well, this is a good opportunity to do something different and to put that out there and to have a second show under my belt. And we'll see how it goes, but I feel pretty good about it.
Very good. I'm definitely glad to hear that. And you did win an award for Once Upon a Wasteland, correct?
Yeah, we won nine
Yeah.
Signal Awards for that in
Congratulations.
different categories. Best show art is one. Charo Miami is the person who did our show art for that, so that was really her award. But best writing, best overall scripted fiction, I'd have to look at them to remember. But yeah,
Oh
it
yeah.
was a it was a total of nine. But
Right.
yeah, it was definitely gratifying to receive those awards because in most of those categories we were up against big studio productions, productions that had actual budgets and professional voice actors and professional editors and sound designers and marketing campaigns, and we didn't have any of that. So it's
Right.
really a testament to audio drama really is egalitarian in a lot of ways. The playing field is much more level there than it is in a lot of other areas. So it's a place where creative people can go and succeed
That's
even
right.
when they're going up against heavy hitters in a way that you can't when you're doing film, for
Right.
example, or music, really.
Right. But I'm glad you're still keep going though, definitely with it. I know you said like a one hit wonder. Yeah, some people, like I said, just want to do like one big passion project. They said, you know what? I just want to do this one project and I'm good. But then you have those like yourself that just wants to definitely keep going and you love the creative process. Absolutely.
Mm.
I think that's great. And speaking of which, how is the production going overall so far?
Well,
Besides
we're
the
still in
cast.
the casting. Yeah, we're in the middle of casting right now.
Right.
What I'm doing right now as we're doing that is I'm adapting that Phonic Fiction Fest script into a proper pilot. When you write a script in 3 hours, there tend to be some plot holes and some other things that you need
Yeah.
to correct. So that I'm working on that. I'm also fleshing it out a little bit, so it's a little bit longer. I want each episode to be around 30 minutes long, a good sitcom length. And
Really?
the PFF script was about 25. So I need to flesh it out just a little bit. Not much, but just a little bit. So it's really just tightening that up and making sure that it serves as a proper pilot in in a way that maybe the script as is didn't necessarily do. Because
Okay.
there's some heavy lifting that you have to do in a pilot that you don't that I didn't do. Establishing more about the characters and their backgrounds, those kinds of things. Giving people a reason to stick around because the first episode is always going to be a show's most listened to episode, and people are going to decide based on that first episode whether they want to listen to more. So you can't push off some of that character building and some of that world building until later. You don't want to do everything in the first episode, but you have to give the audience enough to understand why they want to keep following these characters, why they want to root for these characters, and why they want to follow this story. So that's
True.
that's the main goal for that first episode.
That is true. I'm glad to hear that. Definitely. And again, congratulations. That's, yeah. I love the process. So, do you happen to have any advice for those who want to actually break into voice acting or just tips or pointers in general, especially when it comes to voiceover acting?
Yeah, I would say the most important piece of advice I think I can give is you don't need to have a Newman TLM 103 $1,200 microphone.
Oh, okay. You
There
don't.
is a tipping point where you want to you don't want to buy you don't want to use a a $10 headset mic either, but
Right.
there's you can spend $100 on a microphone and you will still get good sound quality. The most important thing you can do is treat your space. Make sure that you have something set up. It could look like a blanket fort, just something to deaden the sound around you
Right.
so that you don't have all kinds of crazy echoes and that kind of thing. Really treating your space is the most important thing that you can do. I think that's one thing as I listen to some of the auditions that come in, I think that's one thing that folks maybe sometimes forget. Most of the auditions that I get sound great,
Okay.
but occasionally you get one and it sounds like they're in a bathroom. So you don't want to sound like you're in a bathroom.
Right.
And you can do it. You can open up a closet door and stick the microphone in with your clothes, and that works as a sound editing thing. I know there's professional voice actors that do that when they're on the road, when they're
Right.
recording from a hotel. you
Oh
know,
my God.
it,
Wow.
it's the kind of thing where thinking outside the box is a good thing. And the other thing I would say is find a project that speaks to you and submit. Just submit, submit, submit. Like I said, we're going to have well over 300 auditions for 5 roles. That means we're going to have 300 and some people that are
Right.
going to be disappointed that they didn't get cast.
Mm.
Never take that personally, especially for a big project like this one's turning out to be. Rejection is part of the game. You will get rejected 100 more times more often than you get a role, and it's not necessarily a statement on your skill or your presentation as a voice actor. It's really just it comes down to somebody like me or somebody like my casting director listening and thinking, okay, this person is a good fit. This person isn't necessarily a good fit for this
Right.
particular role. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be a fit for 100 other roles out there. So it really is a matter of persistence and just keeping at it and continuing to practice. It's just
Right.
like getting to Carnegie Hall. Practice, man, practice. Getting better is also very important.
Yeah.
Being cast is not the only way to get better at being a voice actor. If you find scripts online, just read them for yourself, record it, and listen
Right.
back to it and think, okay, how can I do this better? Or, what do I do well here? And how can I continue to play on that? Like, hey, understanding your strengths is just as important as understanding your weaknesses so
Yeah.
that you can, establish yourself as a reliable voice actor in a particular way. Like maybe you can do a good news announcer voice, or maybe you can sing, or just all the kinds of things that set you apart, or the kinds of things that you can look at a particular project and go, oh, okay, I can do that. And
Yeah.
then working on the areas where you're maybe not as strong. It's like anything else. Your voice is an instrument, so practicing and keeping that instrument in shape is something that's also very important.
I hear that. Definitely, Brad. Definitely well said. Absolutely. Well, Brett, I do want to thank you again for taking the time to come on my loft to talk about, like I said, the casting process as well as your newest project. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you, your website, your socials?
Well, let's see. The best place to follow is on Blue Sky. We don't do Twitter.
Okay.
Um, you can find me on Blue Sky at Reticent Duet. www.onceupon-a-wasteland.com. You can find Dark Road Diaries on Blue Sky at darkroaddiaries.com. And Once Upon a Wasteland, which is sort of the overall production umbrella, is onceuponawasteland.com. You can find all three of those accounts on Blue Sky. You can find us on Instagram at Once Upon a Wasteland for Once Upon a Wasteland Productions, and also at Dark Road Diaries for Dark Road Diaries.
Nice.
That's we do have a if you look up I do have a channel for Dark Road Diaries on YouTube. I don't have anything there yet. That's where episode releases and other things like that are going to be. But you can look on if you look up Once Upon a Wasteland on YouTube, I'm going to have trailers and things like that there before we release anything on the official Once Upon a Wasteland channel. And we also have a Patreon. The Patreon is patreon.com/Once Upon a Wasteland.
Nice. Okay. We definitely do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And hopefully you guys find the talent you need for Dark Road Diaries. So guys, make sure when it comes out, definitely check that out. So thanks again, Brad, and I will see everybody next time.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.